welcome to my 3838 Nightblade Assassin Guide. This spec is going to be used in most encounters throughout the game because of its versatility. It also has the lethal poison crit buff, which is very helpful in a raid setting, and it can pump out a lot of damage and survive disconnects really well. So a few things about this build is it has a lot of dot management, energy management, and your poisons are going to be hitting really high. That is a few things that are key components of this build. Syncing between the Nightblade and Assassin, or synergizing rather, will give you quite a few things like physical trauma, which your abilities ignited weapons from the Nightblade tree, your fiery spike from the Nightblade tree, your Dust to Dawn from the Nightblade tree, and your puncture from the Assassin tree will get 20% damage. Also, the poisons from Assassin are buffed by 60% through the Nightblade enhanced weapon enchantments. So a few key things about this is that aside from being really good at disconnects, sub 30%, most of the abilities you're going to be using will give you a 30% increase in damage. So this is really good for fights where the last 30% matters the most, or it's a hard and rage kind of thing, such as the boss in Planebreaker Bastion. I can't remember his name right now, but he's the one where you have to run around and he has an execution phase. So, you're going to have one macro right here. It's going to be builder number 1, which is only going to be used whenever you're low on energy, or you need to use backstab, which is a really high hitting ability. It consists of backstab, Dusk Strike, and at the bottom, Twilight Force whenever you're ranged. This build will not be using Impale, or Final Blow, or any of these assassin abilities right there. Poison Malice is going to be a big cooldown that you're going to be using, which will increase your poison damage by 120% or 125%. So that, with the 60% from the Nightblade tree, makes poisons hit really high in this build. Also, you have an ability called Dark Malady, so whenever you start from stealth, in your burst block, you'll have 20% more damage for 8 seconds. So the burst in this is very high, but it is not a sustained burst, but it is instead an overall sustained damage. So, a couple abilities you need to know about are Death in the Shadows and Dust to Dawn. They both apply two combo points to you. Dust to Dawn increases your finisher damage by 20%, and Death in the Shadows applies a fiery spike stack. So, you will not manually have to apply a fiery spike whenever you use Death in the Shadows. So, for instance, on Xylus, which you would not be playing this on actually, just for example, to apply it on the Magus, you could apply it there instead of using your fiery spike. It would already apply it, and it can be refreshed by using a finisher. So you're going to apply it once, and then just use finishers and Death in the Shadows to maintain it. It should not fall off if you're playing the build correctly. Another main thing that will be used is Dusk Strike. Every time you use it, you'll gain a stack of Emptiness up to 5. Emptiness increases the damage of Dusk Strike by 10% per stack, but also increases the cost of energy by 15% per stack. So it will really energy starve you, and I would not recommend this without Anthem of Fervor or equivalent in raid. For the sake of parsing, I'm just going to be using my alt for the Anthem of Fervor instead of switching to the ability reduction in the tree. Another main ability would be Fiery Spike, which I mentioned before, is a dot that it will go up to 5 stacks. No, the tooltip says 3 because of a talent. Twilight Force is your ranged builder, so whenever you disconnect, it does benefit from the sub 30% execution phase, and it's just a hard-hitting ranged ability. So, Ebon Fury makes your Twilight Force and Dusk Strike not consume energy for 10 seconds. So, whenever you're really low on energy, and after the Bard has cast his Verse of Joy, or, the Oracle has casted the equivalent, you can pop this so you can spam Dusk Strike some more. So, I'm going to start with the actual rotation. Puncture is another ability you need to keep up, which is a dot for 10 seconds. You want to maximize the usage of that, your fiery spikes, and you also want to use Dust to Dawn and Death in the Shadows quite frequently. I would not recommend having your Dust to Dawn or your Death in the Shadows in any macros. Dusk Strike is another macro that will be linked in the description. That, your finisher macro, and your builder macro are the main three macros you're using. I also have a sub 30% macro for replacing Savage Strike, but I guess that's not really necessary because you're going to be spamming your Dusk Strike macro more. I also have my Exposed Weakness macro with my Poison Malice just for sake of simplicity. You can macro that or maintaining yourself, but maintaining yourself is a DPS increase. You also have Slip Away, which is on a 2-minute cooldown, which will apply the Dark Malady buff, which is a 20% damage increase for 8 seconds. I mentioned that before in the burst block, but it is also a cooldown that will be used throughout the fight. So, you're going to start from stealth all the time in this build. You're going to apply Energy Manipulation and Exposed Weakness. You're going to open with Dark Malady, Dust to Dawn, Fiery Spike, and then you're going to pop your Poison Malice. Then you're going to be using Puncture, Death in the Shadows, Dusk Strike, and Finish. So, Backstab is going to be used as a replacement for Dusk Strike because it does not consume a lot of energy. Same with Savage Strike. So, when you're low on energy, you're going to pop your Dusk Strike, or your Evan Fury rather, to spam more Dusk Strikes. So, throughout the build, you are maintaining your emptiness stacks and your energy. You also need to keep up your Fiery Spikes, which will be refreshed by using finishers. Puncture, which is your 10-second dot, is you don't want to clip it. You want to use it whenever it says 0 seconds in the buff. The best thing to do, though, in this build is to maintain 5 stacks of emptiness. I find that's the easiest thing to do, and it does tend to parse higher than using the 3-stack in fall-off method. So, for the sake of this guide, I will be using that method. So, you're going to be popping your Poison Malice and your Exposed Weakness off cooldown. So, because of a mastery, you have a 1-minute Exposed Weakness. I would not recommend putting in your builder macro, but it can be done. Anyways, you're going to be low on energy whenever Evan Fury comes up. You want to pop that off the bat, and you want to keep spamming Evan Fury, or, Dusk Strike as much as possible. This is not a really good dummy parsing spec because it benefits most from the sub 30%. In my build, I do not use advanced flanking, so being behind the boss will give you an advantage on your backstab. So, in this, you do not want to clip your combo points with your 2 combo point builders. The main thing about this, though, is to use common sense. Don't clip, don't let your stacks fall, and just pop your cooldowns with Raid. And manage your energy correctly, and don't starve yourself. That's it for this guide, mostly, and also you're going to be using Slip Away, though. Sorry, I forgot to mention that on the dummy. I can't use that without going into combat, or dropping combat, rather. This is a really good spec, though, for most fights in the game. That and Ass Dancer. So these are going to be your main melee specs in Rogue. Marksman's going to be your range spec, and I will make a guide on that soon. And with that said, toodles.